This will save your broken cities with a few minor caveats. Welcome back, city builders. My name is Kodiak the Kodiak, and today we are going to be discussing a mod called Skyve. Skyve is kind of an all-in-one tool. It allows you to manage your mods, manage your assets, manage different profiles, different saves, and it will help you detect issues with the game. So if there's ever an update that breaks any of your assets, it will fix that. And if this doesn't inherently fix any of your cities that were previously broken, it will help you fix any cities that get broken in the future in case Cities Skylines decides to drop some kind of big patch before Cities Skylines 2 and it breaks your cities. Now, if you've never played with a load order tool or compatibility report before, this might not help you save your city. I did say previously before that there were some caveats with that. Also, it's really important that you know which mods you at least had downloaded before when your game broke. So hopefully you didn't unsubscribe from all of your assets and then tried to re-download them, and then that's what broke your save. Hopefully you've just not played in a while. You still have them all downloaded. You're coming back. You have them downloaded on your computer, and you're trying to launch the game, and then that's where it's breaking, because that will actually help you. I'm going to give you guys a little sneak peek into Skyve here, right here in the intro, but if you do launch your game and you're not sure which assets you had, or if you think you're missing some, go here to help and logs, and inside of here in Skyve, once we get everything kind of booted up and running and you're trying to launch these saves, you might get some log errors in here that will tell you which mods you had. So I hope that helps you, but if you don't know which mods you had downloaded in your city, that could be just kind of a deal breaker for this, but otherwise, as long as you had everything downloaded before and you're just trying to launch into your city again, this will help you. And even if your city isn't broken, or you're just watching this video for fun because you want to learn how Skyve works, because this will be an all-around tutorial for how Skyve works and how awesome it is. I cannot reiterate enough how amazing this is, and if we had at least an ounce of what this program has throughout the lifespan of Cities Skylines 1, I think so many more people would have had an amazing experience using mods with Cities Skylines. Before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and don't forget to turn on notifications for any of my other future videos, because I may come out with more tutorials if you guys actually really like this. I also do a build series every Saturday, and we do dev insight and dev diary breakdowns for Cities Skylines 2 on Monday and Thursdays. That might change by the time you guys are watching this if Cities Skylines 2 came out, but I still appreciate the support and it helps a ton. And I extra ask that you guys do that if you guys get any benefit out of this video, and let me know down in the comments if I saved your city. So anyways, let's get into the tutorial. So in order to install the mod, you do have to go to the Steam client and type in Skyve. If you are playing on a different platform like Epic, for example, I'm not sure if you can actually do this. There is a way to download Steam mods on Epic, which I will have a link to a video down in the description. I may eventually do my own tutorial on that as well. It's a bit more updated. But if you're playing on something like the Windows Store version, or especially on console, it's just not going to be possible because the game is completely different. So you're going to type in Skyve, which is Skyve, up here into the search bar in the Steam Workshop. You just go to the homepage, type that in, and you'll end up with this page. Hopefully it will be laid out exactly the same as mine is, and you just go to the first one. Make sure you're not on the beta version by TDW. You want to be on the first one, stable version. And then when you're here, it will show off the mod. Now, the mod does have a different look to it now, so I believe this used to be the old default profile. It was light mode. I don't know if the current version is on light mode. My version is not on this light mode. It's on a dark mode, so it does look a little different. These pictures aren't up to date with the current version as well, so just keep that in mind. So you're going to scroll down here and you are going to subscribe. I'm already subscribed to the mod, so I don't need to, but you're also going to need to download Harmony and Patch Loader mod. If you've never really modded with Cities Skylines before, or you've downloaded some stuff and you're unsure of why things aren't working properly, make sure that when you're downloading mods especially, you're downloading all of the required items. When you download anything from the Steam Workshop for a mod, especially for Cities Skylines, make sure you read the mod. I know you just want to hit the subscribe button and move on, but just reading through the mod, skimming it, making sure that if you scroll down, there's not anything down here about compatibility issues with other mods, because you can corrupt your game if you do it wrong. But yeah, make sure that you have Harmony and Patch Loader mod downloaded here, and then make sure you've subscribed. If you had the old Compatibility Report mod, please make sure you don't have that anymore. This is kind of the new version of Compatibility Report mixed with Load Order Tool, so you're definitely going to want to make sure you do that. If you've used load order tool before, you'll kind of understand this a little bit easier, but it's definitely a lot better than load order tool 1 at least. I didn't use load order tool 2. So down here, they do give you an important disclaimer that does say the Skyve app, which is included in the mod, is only copied to your PC and it does not get installed. It does not execute anything without your input. So this does download its own application, and that's what you're going to use to launch your game from now on. So if you want to launch it through Steam still, I believe you still can, but you basically want to use the Skyve launcher. And there's also a way to stop the Paradox launcher from launching as well, which we'll go through in this tutorial. So right down here, it tells you right where you're going to be able to find it. So you just open your file manager once you've done that, and you go to this file address. So for me, it is under C drive, because if you've downloaded your game on a different drive, you will have to locate your Steam apps folder on that drive. So if you downloaded Cities Skylines onto your D drive or your E drive or whatever drive you put it on, you just have to go to the Steam apps folder that the game is downloaded to. So mine is downloaded into my C drive. So I go to x86 here, I scroll down, I go to Steam, we go to Steam apps, we go to the workshop, we go to content, and then we have to find the number 255710, and that is the Steam workshop code. And there we go into it, and then we have to find 28810, and then, you know, you should be able to find it pretty easily from there. So we just scroll down until you kind of find that. Otherwise, if you don't want to spend all that time scrolling through it, just copy and paste it. So we copy the number, paste it in there. It'll let me, or it just didn't copy it, I guess. There we go. Hit enter. Working on it. There we go. We're now into the folder, and then we can go to app. And then in here is the Skyve launcher application. So what I did is I have it pinned to my taskbar at the bottom. So whenever when I start up Cities Skylines, I can just boot it up from there. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is actually launch Cities Skylines. And we're gonna launch Cities Skylines using the Steam launcher. We're not going to launch it using Skyve just yet. So do not boot up Skyve yet. You're going to want to launch Cities Skylines first. Now you notice I have a Skyve button right here. You're not gonna have that. You're gonna wanna go into Content Manager, and you're gonna wanna make sure that Harmony is enabled first. So enable Harmony first, and then you're gonna wanna enable Patch Loader Mod. The game's probably gonna prompt you to do a restart. If not, restart your game. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is go down here and enable Skyve. Once you enable Skyve, it'll probably make you restart your game again. If not, I would just restart your game again to be safe. Launch your game, make sure that you then have this Skyve button right here. So let's boot up Skyve. And here we go. This is Skyve. So this is my dashboard. Yours may boot up a little different. It might encourage you to make a profile. It might already have a profile for you. I'm not too sure, but you're going to want to make profiles, and this is where they're all going to be stored. So this is your dashboard. This is what it's going to launch into every single time that you activate Skyve. And on the left here is your table of contents of things that you can do in this. You have profiles, packages, mods, assets, DLCs, and CCPs, utilities, compatibility report, help and logs, and options. We're going to go through each one so that way you guys know which section is right for you, because this mod does a ton of stuff with this application. This launcher does a ton of stuff. It helps you troubleshoot broken issues. It helps you collectivize your saves. It helps you, if you've ever used the Steam Workshop to create collections for different builds, you can do all that in here, and it is 10 times easier than what you are probably used to with the Steam Workshop. Colossal Order did hint to the fact that they are having something called Paradox mods, and I truly hope it is as easy as Skyve is to actually organizing our mods and assets for things like different builds. If you want to make a tropical build, but you don't want your assets from your fall Boreal build, you won't have to worry about that, because you can create a different profile for each one. If you want to play a vanilla city that's like maybe got like 2 mods to it, or you want to play a super detailed build over here, or you want one that's just vanilla for when new DLCs come out, which obviously there's not new Cities Skylines 1 DLCs coming out, but if that's what you wanted, you could make a profile just for all of that. So over here, I have a bunch of my profiles. So we have my small town build, which I do on Twitch, which you can find a link to down in the description. We have my crowd control, which is something else I do on Twitch, which allows users to send me disasters. So I only have mods that are kind of compatible with that, because sometimes that can break the game. I have my vanilla light one, which is vanilla with just some like camera mods and some graphical mods, and nothing gameplay changing in that one. I have my YouTube build, which you guys can find in the annotations up over this way somewhere. And then my UCAN Bay build, which was an older build I used to do on Twitch, which was kind of like vanilla light. Over here, it tells me my mods, and if you notice, it says 6 mods caution advised, 2 mods are missing dependencies, 3 mods with a warning, 2 mods require your attention, and then if I had any, which we'll go over to my Yucatan Bay build, which is going to give me this, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but these are items that are missing, so I don't have these downloaded, but that profile is like, hey, we need these, so it's giving me a warning right now, and I'm going to hit this back button. It's going to give me the Windows error. I'm so sorry. Now, I didn't do a super great job explaining what this screen is actually showing. So what it's basically showing is that I loaded up a profile and I don't have those mods that profile uses. And it's basically just warning me like, hey, if you hit save, you will not have these anymore in this mod profile. So it's really important that when you see that screen and it pops up, you actually know like, oh, I intended to not have these mods in here, or I did intend to have them in there and there's no reason that they shouldn't be in there. So that way you know to go and fix whatever issue there might be with your profile. And then say some items are still missing from this profile. Saving this profile in the future will remove these items from it. And I'm going to hit OK because I'm not going to hit save, but it says one mod requires switching to another. So there's a bunch of different warnings that it can give you. And then I think there's also a warning that says this mod is broken and there is no replacement. So those are some different options. So we'll go back over to the small town build. And here we go. And then it also tells us our assets. So I have 9,231 assets included. Please don't judge me. Total size is 26.13 gigabytes total size. 5 mods are out of date, 6 assets are missing dependencies, and 11 assets are with warnings. So we can click on all this stuff. You can click on current profile and look at that. It takes us to the current profile and we get a bunch of new information. So we're actually going to come back out from that. I'm going to hit the dashboard button and we're going to go down to profiles first. So in profiles, these are a bunch of different profiles that kind of exist. These are older profile lists for different things. I actually don't even know what a bunch of these are, so I just kind of choose to ignore them because I only really use the top 2 rows really. And there's also discover profiles. If you want to find a profile from somebody else that somebody else may upload, I may upload one at some point, but here we have graphics and gameplay, road builder essentials. You know, there's a bunch of stuff that's already uploaded here. You can download the profile, which includes the assets and the mods that the person is using, and get them straight from there. There's only 27 available right now. I don't know if that's because a lot of people aren't using it or why there's only 27. I've never used it, to be absolutely fair to you, but it is an option that's there. So there's a bunch of different things up here. So we can just favorite a profile right here that we have selected. We can hit this gear button and actually color code it if we want to change the actual color code for it. We can hit this gear, which takes us to that profile scene that we looked at earlier, which we can rename it if we want to in there. And then we can also hit save right here. So if you make any changes, you have to hit save up here at the top. Otherwise, there is a setting when we get to options where it'll automatically save for you. Next to it is this temporary profile. So you can create a temporary profile to make some tests. And as long as you don't exit out of Skyve, this temporary profile will stay here and you can launch through it. And then if you want to add the changes to a profile, you can do that then. So we're going to go back and load the small town profile. And then right here, if you notice, it says create or import a new profile. This is probably what you're going to have to do. So it does say keep your current settings. Now, I'm not sure when you download the mod for the first time again, because I have it already, how this is going to look for you, if it's going to have a profile for you or not. But basically, once you have a profile set, this is what it will look like. So you can start a new profile from scratch, which will disable everything or it'll enable everything. We're going to do that. You can keep your current settings, which will keep the current settings from that profile. But if you want to add or remove some specific things to it to maybe do some tests, you can do that. And then you can also import a profile using a profile ID. If you get somebody else's city or you want to show somebody else your city, you can get a profile ID and actually share it with people. So right down here, you can select a profile's JSON or XML file here and import it. So you can just drag it and drop it as well. So we're going to start a new profile from scratch here. We're going to call it new profile. I'm actually going to call this tutorial. There we go. So this is our tutorial profile, and this is the new profile that we're going to be using. So let's go through this page now. Profile usage, you can say any usage. So you can say it's city building, asset creation, and this just kind of helps you figure out which ones are for which. And it also, well, I believe it might automatically enable and disable certain things for you to optimize your usage for it. So if you use any usage, everything will just be on. I would suggest probably doing that. Launch settings over here. If you want to launch a city specifically, you can select a map. file to start your game from. So in order to do this, to start a new game, you actually have to find the map location in your save files. So right here, it's automatically found my maps, and I can pick which map I actually want to load from. So this is just to start a new game. We're going to cancel on that, or we can continue a previously saved game, and this opens all of your save files, and you can just launch it straight from in here. It skips the start menu, and you go straight into the game. I wouldn't suggest doing that because sometimes I've had an issue where when we launch into the desktop, it actually didn't enable the mods in game. They're there still. I just had to manually enable some of them, and that's been a bug I've experienced only a couple times. So I would just always double check that. But you can launch the game from in here. I, again, would not suggest doing that just for your own well-being, that you can go through in the background and make sure that everything's actually been enabled. But you can disable workshop packages, so you can just play the game vanilla if you really want to, or you can do left-hand traffic. You can do new assets for editor, or load assets for the editor as well. And over here, if you know what you're doing with that, you'll understand what that is. If you don't, just ignore what I just said. And then over here, we have the loading screen mod. And you can actually import stuff in from the loading screen mod, load used assets, use a skip file to execute vanilla assets, or load all enabled assets. I would just suggest kind of ignoring the loading screen mod on this section specifically, because there's probably a pretty low likelihood that you're going to actually need it. So changes in this scenes are saved automatically. The automatic save option, which is right here, and the save button at the top affect your selected mods, assets, and DLCs only. So anything you do in here is like that's permanent now. So just make sure that you only have the thing selected that you want to. I would just suggest not touching anything in here. So now we can go to a bunch of different options down here in content. So we have packages, mods, assets, and DLCs and CCPs. We're going to go to CCPs and DLCs first. And in here, you can enable and disable DLCs. Now I have almost all of the DLCs, but let's say I only wanted to play with some of them. Let's say we're doing a vanilla tutorial series, which I do have on my channel. They're all right, but I have them at least. If you guys want a more vanilla tutorial experience, you can find those down in the description. But over here, if I wanted to just do a vanilla tutorial series, and maybe I wanted to add one DLC at a time, or like, I just don't care to listen to the radios, well, you can turn them off. So right here, we have all of the deep focus radios, campus radio, mass transit. Some of them aren't, they're not called radio or whatever, but so like relaxation station, and we can go through one by one and turn them off, so that way they don't even launch the game with them, thus decreasing our load time and the amount of assets and things they need to load to get into our game. So it's just a good way to help optimize your game if you're noticing that maybe it takes a long time to load in. Disable the stuff you're not going to use. So for this profile, I'm actually going to disable pretty much everything except for mass transit, after dark, and green cities. And just to show you guys, I'll keep relaxation station on. Then we're going to go over here to assets. Now, inside of assets is all of the assets that you've probably downloaded on Steam. Now, I have mine sorted by total file size, but the default sorting will obviously look a little different. But basically in here, any kind of asset that you downloaded, like a school building or a different type of road, or anything that is actually a placeable object, not like a core mod that changes gameplay aspects, will be in here. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to enable just the picnic pavilion to kind of show you guys that it does work and how it works. Next, we're going to go to mods. So this just allows us to pick and choose which mods we want to use. Now, some of the things in here will be local mods. So these are things like themes from Theme Mixer. So if you have Theme Mixer, your themes will pop up in here. So if there's a specific theme you want to use, make sure you have that enabled. I'm not going to have any of those enabled for now. Now, automatically Skyve, Patch Loader Mod, and Harmony will always be enabled. I'm going to also enable 81 Tiles 2 mod, Acme, the camera mod. I'm also going to enable Find It, Move It, and Game Anarchy. And I'm only doing those ones just to show you guys that this is actually singling out specific mods and only enabling those. So next, we're going to go over to Packages, which is the top part of content. And this is pretty much everything that's in the game. So for example, Find It is here under Packages. And the Picnic Pavilion is also here under Packages. So pretty much anything you download from the Steam Workshop will be in here. And sometimes you might not be able to I've had issues sometimes where stuff doesn't pop up under assets or mods, and it might be because it's part of an actual larger collection. And so what you'll need to do is actually go into Packages and try to find it in there. Knowing the name helps a ton, because when you can search it up at the top, you can also search by filters, which is another thing that you can do in here. And you can search for things just included, so you can find just the things that are included or excluded that aren't in the game. And by in the game, I mean things that are enabled, because when you enable each one of these things, it's actually enabling it in the game. So when you launch into the main menu, what it's going to do is it's only going to launch with those things. So even though you might have a different mod, like I have a zoning tool mod enabled, you're not going to see that when we launch into the game, because the game's not going to launch with it. It's going to be on your computer, but it's going to basically ignore all of it, which is really nice. I'm in post now, and I'm actually going to try to explain this a little bit better. So everything that you see that's unchecked, doesn't have the green box next to it, is something that is subscribed to on the workshop. It's downloaded to on your computer, but it's not enabled. And when you have the green check mark, that means it's actually enabled, and included is how they word it in the game. So that means it's included, and when you launch the game, it'll be in there. You can also sort by whether or not the mods are local or workshop. So for example, I do have some local mods, one of them being the crowd control mod that I use, because there is no Steam Workshop version for that. It's just something that you download and then install into the game's mod folder by itself. So you can sort for them that way if you're using something like that. Next, you can also sort by mods or assets when you're in the packages tab, which is pretty nice. Date subscribed, date updated, tags, there's a bunch of stuff. Tags can be really helpful for finding specific things. So like if we wanted to find a tree specifically, we can just look for trees in here. Another thing I want to go through is packs. So notice here it says Winter Alder Tree Pack. When we click on the Winter Alder Tree Pack, you can see in here that there is a ton of different trees than just in the pack itself, basically. So for example, if we only wanted to include the Winter Alder tree stump, we can just select that. And notice how it has this yellow slash through it, because that means that something in here is enabled, but not all of it is enabled, which can be really helpful for you if you only want certain parts of your pack that you may have downloaded installed, if your computer maybe is running out of space. Or just to increase or decrease, I guess, load time. You can also go through here and look at the compatibility info. If somebody has checked any of these assets, which a lot of the stuff on this on Skyve has been manually checked by somebody else. So for example, if we go into Zone Adjuster here and we go to compatibility info, you'll see that it was reviewed on the 24th of May, and that when it was last reviewed, it was stable. So if you're noticing an issue that's potentially newer and you notice that it says stable, but it hasn't been reviewed in a while, you could maybe come to the conclusion that maybe it needs to be updated soon. I'm going to come in post again. You can also see on the right that there's also alternatives to different mods that you might be able to use in replace of it. And you'll see later how that can be incredibly helpful if maybe one of the mods that, the reason your save isn't launching is because one of the mods is completely broken and that's preventing your game from launching. Well, it will give you good alternatives to said mods that you already have installed on from the Steam Workshop. So that way you can pick and choose which replacements that you have, and it's telling you which replacements are the good ones to use in your use case scenario, which is very helpful. Or if we go and find a different mod, for example, like Rotterdam Road Texture and Terrain Edge Remover. So if we click on this, notice how it says attention required up here. Now you can click on attention required, or you can go to Compatibility Report. And when you click on the Compatibility Report, it tells you about the stability. And you can say right here that it causes issues in your game. You should use the following instructions. And then it tells you what issues it actually causes and how to fix it. And it also will say it has not been updated in a long time, and the author has retired and has been inactive for a long time. And you can snooze these as well, so you don't actually get these updates if you don't want them. If you're like, no, this mod's safe, I know it's safe, it's fine, I've been using it forever, my game's launching fine, then you can snooze it and get rid of it. You can also see what other profiles these mods are in as well. So for example, I'm going to also enable the Rotterdam's Road Texture Terrain Edge Remover just so we can see some errors and issues when we go into it. It also tells you if a mod's in beta. So for example, Unified UI Continued is a beta, so it actually has like a beta flag. There's also some tags here on the side so you can see them when they were last updated. And so if you know that if there's a big patch before Cities Skylines 2 comes out that fixes some stuff, you might be able to tell if something's broken a little bit easier by their update date. On the right over here, you can also click to view this package on the Steam Workshop, which will take you directly to the Steam Workshop for the assets. So right here, we are now at the Rotterdam's Road Texture and Edge Remover here. And so if you need to see any issues with it, like maybe if we were missing a required item for like a prop for a building, for example, you can actually find them if they are actually in their Steam Workshop, or find some things like known side effects or some other issues that the mod might have in terms of compatibility. Or you can actually just find the local file on your folder. Or folder on your file, or folder on your computer, local folder. Now over here, we also have ploppable asphalt. We can click in here and look at the compatibility report, and you can notice that it has retired or been inactive for a while, so that is a caution. They're giving you a caution. Now this one's missing a dependency for loading screen mod revisited. Missing DLC. You're missing a DLC used in this package. So if you're missing something, you can it'll warn you that, hey, you don't have the required items for it as well, which is also very nice. Coming in post again, just so you guys know, this is actually a bug currently in Skyve. This could be fixed by the time you're watching it. It probably will be. They do update pretty quickly, but there is actually no DLC requirement for loading screen mod, and loading screen mod is awesome. You should use it. I will explain later in the video why you should have it, because it's going to be one of the core mods that will definitely help you fix your broken games if there is a fix available. I'm also going to turn on loading screen mod revisited so you guys can see what's going on with that. So if we notice right here, cube map replacer. Well, let's click on cube map replacer because they have an issue. It says switch to linked package. And we can go in here and click on the compatibility report, and it tells you some alternatives that you can use. And it says FPS booster can be used in as an alternative to cube map replacer. And they're even suggesting, hey, you should switch to FPS booster. So I'm going to click on FPS Booster and I'm going to enable it. Now, even if you don't have Cube Map Placer installed, it will still give you that warning, and they'll still occasionally give you warnings like, hey, you should remove this. But if you do have some saves that use that one and you don't want to upgrade to the newer mod, for example. So for a really good example of this is any of the control mods like tree control, prop control. Those are some newer mods that are being made that are more updated and ready to go for the game's updates that maybe broke previously for their predecessor versions. When you update to the newer version on an existing save, you can cause issues with your game, and trust me, it's a ton of work. I had to literally have Chameleon TBN, this Chameleon TBN that actually made Skyve, come in and help me fix my city, which was the Yucatan Bay build, because I tried to update to the new version. So just a forewarning, before you update to any of the new versions of any of these mods, if the old version works, I would suggest maybe sticking with it. It also gives you the links so you can actually donate to any of the creators that you think are really great. A lot of modders work really hard on these assets that we just get for free. So if you ever have any extra cash laying around and you want to support these creators, especially ones that like give you tons of props that you use or give you mods that find you enjoyment. Like for example, Cuboid's Move It. A ton of us detailers use Move It, and I'm sure Cuboid would love a little kickback. What you can do over here is click on their donate link and actually donate to those modders because they work for free. But as you can see, it doesn't actually tell us that there's any linked assets to this, but if we go to the Steam page, we can actually see that there is a required item that is missing for them. And we can see how to fix that later, where you can actually see after you load into the game what props you're missing. Next is the maintenance tab. And this is where the meat and potatoes come in terms of fixing your broken cities. Now, first off right here, I do have a detected issue. One package is out of date, CCM Primrose Searing. So if something is out of date, it'll tell you that you can fix it up here. The issue is this one's not working too good. And I've had this as a detected issue for a while. I'm not sure if it's just this mod or if it's Skyve or what, but this one's always lingering around in here, even if I have other things up in this section. So just keep that in mind. But you can go over here and click Fix Issues, and it will fix your issues for you. Right here, you can run a workshop package cleanup. You can run a quick cleanup that will delete any package that you're not actually subscribed to from your computer. So if something is stuck on your computer that you're not actually subscribed to, it'll delete it. I would suggest just leaving this alone. I would suggest not touching that. What's a really cool thing, if you have been using workshop collections previously, and you want to move yourself over to Skyve after looking at everything I've kind of shown you about it so far, you can copy and paste your Steam collection into here, and you can load the collection. So let's do that. We're going to go to the Steam Workshop page for Cities Skylines here. We're going to click on Collections. Let's look at the most popular ones in the past year. Let's look at City Planner Plays Nicolette Bay, one-click collection. So we click on the collection, we right-click, copy page URL, and if you notice, here's all the stuff that City Planner Plays uses in the Nicolette Bay video series. We can then paste it right here and hit load collection. And what it does is it brings up every single thing that City Planner Plays had in that collection. So this was everything that City Planners Plays had in that collection. Now it doesn't include, if you notice, any assets. So if we go back over here, you'll notice he had probably some linked collections at the bottom, I'd guess. No, he didn't actually. If you have any linked collections at the bottom, it will not include those. However, it did include pretty much everything else. So one of the things was a golf cart. So let's type in golf cart. Here we go. Golf cart asset that Nicolette Bay had. Fun fact about Nicollet Bay, it is based on Mackinac Island, which is an island here in the state of Michigan, where I'm from. I grew up like an hour away from Mackinac Island, so it was very cool that I saw he was doing this series. So big shout out to that one. Anyways, here's everything that he used in here. And if you want to enable or download these, you can just hit this plus button and it will bring them in and download them. So let's just download the golf cart. And if we notice down here, it says 1 item pending subscription. So what this will do is when you hit apply, it will automatically subscribe to it on Steam. So if we look over here, you'll notice it'll start downloading from Cities Skylines. Now, sometimes it might launch cities down here as well. It'll pop it up and then it'll exit itself out and then it'll download straight from the workshop. But you'll notice that a download from the workshop started. And if we go back over here, we'll notice that we actually have the golf cart asset and it is enabled. And I'll show you guys that it is enabled in the game when we actually go look at it. Now, this is a vehicle, so maybe this was a bad asset to look at. I'm going to actually disable the golf cart because I didn't realize it was a vehicle. I thought it was a prop. Let's do the state of superior flags. So we'll download the state of superior flags. We'll hit apply. You notice down here, it looks like your Cities Skylines game starting. It's not. It's just, this is just what it does when you do this. And you can do multiple of these all at once, and then it'll just download all of them. It says 1 item pending download. So you hit download right here. It'll pop up Steam, and it'll download. And there we go. And now we should have them. Boom, there we go. Sometimes it can take a second, but just keep that in mind. So here we go. It does say out of date, and it does show that there's an error, but it says that you are 2022 years and 8 months behind on updates. So I think that there's probably just an issue with this mod or some issue with it. I'm not too sure what's up with that, but we do have it. It's downloaded, so it's good to always check these and make sure that there's no issues with them. Now, let's get to the part about loading screen mod. As I previously mentioned in post, this is me in post again, where we talk about why loading screen mod is incredibly useful, and you may run into some issues with your broken games in terms of assets. This does not help with mods, but in terms of assets, you might be missing a couple assets or something else, and this is where loading screen mod can really help you. And there is basically, like, I wouldn't call it a one-click solution, but if you've ever used the asset browser in loading screen mod in order to find missing props and assets, this is going to change your life. So what you can do is you can click view and subscribe, view and subscribe to missing assets. So when you click it, it will start loading and it'll try to find your assets. The easiest way to actually do this, though, is to instead go down here and type in %sign app data. Just get to your app data folder. I'm sure you guys know how to do this. If you haven't, if you don't, you just type %sign app data %sign. You go to the file folder, you go to app data, go to local. You'll find Colossal Order, the developer of Cities Skylines, and then you go to report, loading screen mod. And inside of loading screen mod, you can notice all of the asset reports for everything that you've played. So for example, my YouTube map, which I do a YouTube Let's Build series every weekend, usually I upload on Saturdays, we can open up the asset report right here. So let's do that, and we drag it and drop it into the loading screener mod report. And this shows me everything that I am missing from this save. So what this will do is it'll allow you to find anything that you are actively missing from it. So let's say something got removed when you re-downloaded Cities. So this is going to be really helpful for those of you who maybe have nuked your assets and mods, and this way you can find all of the stuff that you're missing. So these are all of your missing assets from this build. Also, anytime you download any kind of new asset, so when I download, like, if I download like 100 new assets or something because I'm crazy, sometimes there will be props that maybe weren't recommended to be connected, but then you're actually missing when you download the building. That happens pretty frequently. You can actually use this spit out, basically, every time you boot into the game to, when you download new assets, just throw it in there, and then you can find all the stuff you're missing, which can be really helpful if the asset creator didn't include that as a required item for it. Next, you can do the same thing over here on this side. So let's open that back up and drag it onto this side. And this allows you to see everything that you are using in that save. So this shows you all of the assets that you actually have downloaded. So the left side shows you everything that you're missing. So when you launch the game with loading screen mod, if you see any errors and issues, this shows you everything that you're missing. This side shows you everything that you have. So if you want to go through all of your mods, let's say you're using too much RAM and you're like, I need to get rid of some of this stuff. You can click, or you can drop it into here and get rid of and remove anything that you're not or haven't actually placed on your map yet. On the flip side, if you are missing assets, you can do that over here. And as you might have heard me say before, there are a few caveats to how Skyve can help fix your game. And one thing load order mod doesn't do is figure out which mods you're actually missing from your saves. However, if you try to load into the save, you might get some errors spit out that will yell at you and tell you you're missing this mod or you're missing that mod. And for that, you would want to go to help and logs, as I explained earlier in the video. Now over here, you can import XML configurations. If you know what this is, you'll know what this is. If you don't worry about this. This is for files from Bob, Treebush, and Theme Mixer. So if you've ever used those and you know how to import and you know what I'm talking about, this is where you do that. If you don't, do not worry about what I'm saying right now. And next up, this allows you to import from text. So if you have the Steam Workshop, like actual text codes, when you right-click copy from a Steam Workshop page, you'll actually get a certain number at the end of that URL. And that certain number matches up with the workshop code. So you can actually just paste those workshop codes into this part and it will automatically find them for you. So if you have those, you can use those there instead. So I went back over to my small town build collection because I have a ton of different errors, and let's go through some of the different ones. So for example, we have the cube map replacer one, which we all kind of talked about. If we go over here to attention required, and this will tell us some issues. So this one is saying that move it can cause issues when used with Surface Painter. And then it tells us what instructions we should follow. You should change the move it enhanced pillar control option if your existing surface paints might disappear. This is a pretty niche issue. You guys might not even understand that, but if there is something that you do understand, you might find the issue for it in here, and that could maybe be stopping your game from launching or causing weird texture issues. The big one is going to be switch to link package or mod is broken, and they will have suggestions for new mods to switch to. And you should just be able to easily hit this switch button and it will switch everything for you. And it'll disable this and give you prompts to uninstall. It's really nice. So over here we have warning, and it says this package can cause issues. Be careful using it. No real descriptions, but just some general issues. Next is missing dependencies, and this is telling me that I'm missing some DLCs to use loading screen mod revisited because I don't have all of them enabled. And then this one's telling us that Southern Valley theme mix, you're missing a required package for Southern Valley theme mix. You should subscribe to the following package. And then it's telling us to download or include the Farmland Europe. Since we are using that, you know what, let's just include it just so you guys can see it, and boom, now it's gone. So we have that included now, and we no longer have that issue anymore. I do wish it told us which DLC we were missing. It just keeps telling us which DLC we're missing. So let's go over to the Steam Workshop page and troubleshoot this together. And just by going down and skimming the comments, which if you're ever noticing an issue with a mod, or you're going to download a new mod, or just looking at a mod that you were using before and you're looking to troubleshoot it in general, I always suggest coming down to the comments over here and then maybe going through the first 3 tabs and seeing if your issue was talked about. So for example, this person's saying, so Skyve is telling me that I'm missing a DLC to use this package, and they're saying that this is a bug with the Skyve app. Contact the devs through Discord, and this is a very fresh issue. So this might not even be a thing by the time I upload it. They might have already fixed this. So that is something that you can do, and we could enable or disable a DLC for this. If they said somewhere in the description of the mod or in the comments which thing we needed, then we know to go through and enable it in case this doesn't say it exactly. But this appears to be a bug. So, and the last tab I have available is the caution, and these are just some caution issues. So like, right, for example, let's go through the Ron one. Ron, the network replacer, can cause issues when used with network skins. When using automatic replacements, Traffic Manager Presence Edition settings will be lost on replacement and connected network segments, and the large arrow and lane connectors may be messed up on the entire map. So it's giving us some issues. So if we maybe see some issues, we can go through and look at our potential cautions, and then it'll tell us some different issues, and it even links the mod that it's talking about, right? Network skins. So we're gonna go back over to the YouTube tutorial profile, which is this one right here. It says we have 11 mods included, 2 assets included. We can do a bunch of other things too, like I can change the background here, so like it says big small town build for my YouTube series. So the last part here is help in logs. So on the right here, it will automatically load your last log file's errors, and they'll be automatically shown when opening this page. So if you have any errors in your game, when you open it, the logs will show here. This is just another avenue of places for you to troubleshoot and figure out what's wrong with your game. Now, everyone's got different issues with their game when they launch it, and it's really hard to inherently simulate a bunch of them. So I'm going to leave this part to you guys to figure out and just read through your output logs and try to make some good educated guesses as to why your save might be broken at this point, if doing things like compatibility report and just replacing and fixing and updating your mods doesn't do the trick. So in here, you can open the game's log folder and it will show you where your logs are. It'll be this output log, and then you should be able to just drag and drop that in there if it's not opening it up automatically, but it says right here that it should automatically be shown. So if you're ever getting help from anybody on troubleshooting your game, you're definitely going to probably end up on this screen. I did when Chameleon helped me out, which I'm super grateful for in saving that city. So we can use any of these options to help ourselves troubleshoot as well. The last thing is options, and there is, well, a ton of options. You can do things like manually select which folders are in different places. So if you move your game files, you can manually go through and change where they're located at. I would highly just suggest not touching anything in here unless you know what you're doing. The one thing that you could do is obviously change which language you're using, which they do have quite a few. You can help them improve the translations as well, or you can click on the themes and UI scale. Whoa, welcome to Theme Changer. And then we can change all of the different items about the launcher. Then we can change all the different UI things about Skyve. These are a bunch of different cool ones. I haven't looked at any of these yet. I really like Golden Forest. I think we're gonna stick with Golden Forest and we're gonna hit apply. So now we go back to the options, and here we go. Here is our new layout for Skyve. So we've also customized it as well. We can go back to the dashboard, and now there's still a few more things to go through. So you can launch Cities Skylines down here in the bottom right, or you can click this button up here in the top right. And before we go any further, I would like to direct you guys back over to help and logs. And there is an open the guide button. This is really important because this is the actual written guide for Skyve. So if anything I said didn't make sense, if you're using a different platform like Linux or Mac, they will have different instructions on how to download the game on those platforms in here, or explain to you how to do it. Tells you which mods that you need to download, tells you what things to leave on and off, and a bunch of other stuff about the launcher and how everything works. It's pretty much everything I just said, along with some other stuff. Like over here, we can right click and do a bunch of different changes to the props and stuff. Now, I kind of explained it to you guys how I use the mod, and you might need to use it differently or like to use it differently. And you'll find different quirks or different ways to use Skyve as well if you use it as regularly as I do. I can't begin to tell you guys how many times this has completely saved my city after an update. So let's go back into Skyve. We have our right profile selected. Let's hit the button up here in the top left, and this will launch our game. Psych. Okay, before we actually launch Cities Skylines, we're actually going to go through and right click, go to properties, and go to launch options. So what we're going to do is we're going to input this string right here. So you can't see the whole thing right now because it's slightly minimized, but in order to see the whole thing, you're going to go back over to Skyve, help and logs, and open the guide. Okay, so we've had this guide open before, so we're going to go back into the guide. We're going to scroll down to where it says Skyve app preparation. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to that launch options, and you're going to copy and paste this string right here. Right? So click to open the website, right? So it'll just open this, and it will give you the Windows, the Mac, and the Linux version of it respectively. And you're just going to copy this right here, and you're going to paste it in here. Now I have it pasted in here. If your game is saved to a different spot than this location, you just need to put the string, the file location path right here in the quotation marks, and then you're fine. It doesn't have to be this exact address if you have it located somewhere else. So if you have it located somewhere else, put that actual path to your .exe in here, and then just end it with a space, %, command, %. So as you can see, I've loaded straight into the game. I'm gonna hit got it right here, and we're back at the menu again. You know, Skyve's still there, and we can go in and select a new game. If you notice, we no longer have access to all of the DLC maps because I don't have these enabled, and the only DLCs with maps that I have are Mass Transit and Green Cities. But as I said previously, we're going to want to go into Content Manager and make sure that all of the mods that we wanted are enabled, and these are all the ones that we had enabled. And then here are our 2 assets that we had, the Winter Alder Stump and the Picnic Pavilion. Notice how it's not the whole package, it's just the Alder Stump. And we can hit New Game. So let's load into a map so I can show you guys that everything is actually there. So here we are in. This just shows that Game Anarchy is actually on. We have Acme installed because I'm able to go outside of the camera bounds. Find It is enabled, and we have our Picnic Pavilion, and we have Move It enabled as well. So there you guys go. I hope that this helps you guys fix your city. If you guys have any questions at all, please put them down in the comments. I'll be happy to try to help as best I can in the comments, or you guys can potentially go over to Skyve. I'm sure they have some kind of forum where you guys can ask questions. I'm not sure if there's a Discord or something. If there is, I'll link it in the comments, or actually, you know what? I'll put it as a pinned comment in the description down below if there's anywhere for you guys to go to ask questions if you're still having trouble. If any of that helped you guys, please drop a subscription. It helps a ton. Check out my build series, which I do every weekend on Saturday mostly. And then I also do a developer insight and diary breakdown every Monday and Thursday for Cities Skylines 2, which I hope you are as excited for as I am. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I hope this saves your cities, and I hope to catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.